Just bring it up on my phone. I'm waiting to see if we have anybody. Just give me a second here. Stay with me if you're with me. I'm not ignoring you. Just coming in. And if you're watching recording, we're just waiting for people to join in. So I'm just not talking to empty air. Let's see. Oh, I do. It says there's 2 people watching, so I am here. I'm coming in early. Hello, Felicia. Hello, Tracy. Hi, hi, hi. So that's what I was doing, just making sure I was actually here. I'm trying to see with my reading glasses on, trying to see the writing. Marlene, hello. Karen, hi. So nice to see everybody coming in. I know it's earlier in the day. For some people, of course, it's later, depending on your time zone, depending on what part of Canada, the US, or anywhere else in the world that you're coming in from, and the time zones. But I just wanted to stop in. It's been a week pretty much since I have been in. And I am on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Hi, Shaiva and Beth. Hello. All is well. You'll have to put up with my stuffed up nose, my sinuses, my fevery body, but I am here under the weather. So you haven't seen me in a little bit. There's been lots of under the weather stuff that's been happening. And this retrograde, Beth, actually has not been too bad for me. Technology-wise, it's been a pain in my butt trying to get things in, trying to get up, trying to get on my computers. Took me like 10 minutes to get my Google to open up this morning to get into one of my sessions. Just a lot of little things, but the retrograde has not been too bad, not yet. Now, I am feeling the effects now. As out in the world, there's an effect of it. And I guess the one thing I can say is that I'm sitting home in isolation waiting for a COVID test result. So that's happening. And I just count my blessings every day. I look at the life and I look at the world, and I think of my friends who've become like family to me that are back in my Alberta hometown, who are going through some really difficult times right now, and to anyone else who's going through difficult times. And I think, I count my blessings and I look at my blessings, and that's how I look at every day. So that's the best that we sometimes can do. Just letting some more people join in. So I was thinking, I was sitting here and I was going to do a recording, and same thing as my last live. I just felt the need to come into the live to check in. I'm trying to find a place to put my legs because my hips are hurting. The fever from whatever I got going on, whether it is COVID or the flu or whatever, is in my hips. And so I'm trying to move around. So I'm not trying to I'm not being like uncomfortable in my live. I just trying to find a comfortable place to sit. So love you, ladies. So anyway, I just wanted to stop in. It is new moon. It's more than, we have retrograde. We're still in retrograde. We're in that for a while. So, I always say retrograde is a great time to sit back, to reflect, to look at your blessings, to kind of take stock of the things that we do have that are working for us, that are not working for us, to look at what we have to do to bring changes. And this is something, what is retrograde? Very good question, Tracy. Not everybody knows what retrograde is. And you often read, oh, retrograde is the planets, they start to go in reverse, and that's not true. That's not a truth. The planets don't start spinning in reverse. It's like it's just when the planets align in a specific way in astrology or in the astrological charting mapping, is that it aligns to this slower energy. It feels like energy is slowing down. It's kind of like when we get twisted, when we get kind of caught up in ourselves. and it's almost like we're running into ourselves. It feels like it feels like you're going backwards, or it feels like the past is reliving itself. It feels like we're in this um, almost like slow mo of a crash that you can't stop. And so the way that we think, in our subconscious is, if you have been told over and over and over that, oh my God, Mercury retrograde's coming, life is going to get chaotic, everything is going to go to shit, everything's going to go sideways, and you already tell yourself that story before retrograde hits, then you're already pre-planning that destiny, right? You're already creating that story in motion. So it's almost like you seek and find more of it. Whereas for me, the way that I look at retrograde, and I'm not saying shit don't go sideways, because it does. Like me here waiting for a COVID test, I guess that's a little bit of shit gone sideways. But it's that um, but it's that time of when it feels like we can slow down. Feels like it's time to take a step back from life, from world. It's a pause time, it's a slower energy. Everything feels like it's in a slower moving energy. It feels like you can kind of, if it's in slow motion, then you got more time to think. You can process, you can think about your next actions. You can start preparing and planning for what it is that, you know, if this wasn't working, and I kept being on repeat of this, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to change? What do I need to bring forth in my life? And thank you, Beth. Yes, I hope it comes back negative as well. Just waiting. And I don't laugh at COVID. It's not funny. Um, this past week, it was, you know, we're all seeing it, we're all witnessing it in certain ways, and we're all on different spectrums and views and stories. And there's one thing that we can all agree upon, is that the loss of life due to this is, is horrific. It is sad. It is. And in this past week, one of um, my friends from that I met in Slave Lake had passed. Um, and it really truly, it's like, it's that time. I don't know, I don't want to talk about, it's not my place to speak of anyone. And so it's just that time when, if we can sit with ourselves and send love and light out into the world. There is no words, there's nothing to say, there's nothing to argue, there's nothing, just love. And it's just that time when we, for me, what Mercury retrograde has been was truly like, just stop talking, stop doing, and just focus on what you do best. Send love and light out into the world. Sit in healing, sit in sending out healing, sit more time in that prayer and in that meditation. So I keep creating more and more prayers that I will eventually release as well. Because if you have not ever taken my power of prayers, which is a 7 week of prayers, and it's don't get stuck in the church thing, but the 7 weeks of prayers, the power of learning to use prayers to be of um, to really truly connect, and to learn the power of asking. Because the greatest thing we can learn to do is to be able to find strength in our weaknesses, and to be able to strengthen ourselves from our previous experiences, instead of sitting in our previous experiences, and instead of blaming the world, or blaming blaming God for things that happen, or whatever God is for you. Instead of blaming something outside of ourselves, or laying blame upon ourselves, is that it gives us the opportunity to sit in the power of love. And I always say, it's ascend me beyond my darkest thoughts, ascend me beyond my negative thoughts, ascend me beyond my need to send me beyond my human's ability, and let me be able to live beyond my human limitations. Let me think beyond my human limitations. Let me think beyond, let me, help me, guide me beyond my human ability to be able to bring into creation a better life. And that's kind of how I work. Just saying. So um, there's just such value that we create when we come into that place of sending love and light, um, not trying to figure everything out, not having to know everything. Life is happening around us. We are in other people's stories and other people's experiences, and we don't always understand why. and when we don't always know when or how things are going to unfold in life. And so staying in our moment of where we are to count our blessings, to look at life in different perspectives and different ways, and sending as much love and light to those who need it is so important. So important. So, but I did want to come in and sit with you guys today in the new moon energy. So we are in new moon energy. Today is new moon. And in this new moon today it is in Libra. And but we also have that sense of we may have been in a situation where you may have been finding yourself starting to come and make peace with things or be at peace, or and then there's a blip. There is a change. There's something that shows up. There's like something else that pops up, lights up, that tries to throw you from that peace or throw you away from that. And you may find yourself trying to hold on to it or trying to cling to it. And and the more you try to hold on to peace, or the more you try to create peace, the more chaos you create. Did you know that? Because the more you try to force that peace within yourself, I need to be at peace, I need to be still, I need to be quiet, I need, is the more that you actually are going into that mind and you're trying to think your peace into reality. And you can never think your peace into reality. You have to, it has to be about the actions that you take towards um, the change that can bring more sense of inner peace. And so in my news feed and in my news feeds and in my world is that I have blocked out all news, all media, whether no matter what side it is. I don't even know when announcements are coming out about what's happening in the world or what new rules and laws. I am dead set against taking away people's freedoms of rights. I am dead set against uh, showing up at a door and having to prove proof, but I am not against the people. And so because of those things is that I recognize a lot of, a lot of things that are unfolding are everybody is still fighting for the same means or wanting the same outcome and the same means. And so that peaceful perspective comes when you open your mind to look at all sides. So I went to get coffee, and one place says they're not abiding by the passport thing, but they're not asking for it, but they're also closing down. They close down the eat-in part of their business, but they do have patios. So they have patios so people can still go there. Another place don't have patios, and their eat-in is their only place, or takeout. And because of the loss of business, and because they can't afford to keep their business going if they don't keep it open, so they're being, they're stuck, they're put in a corner, and everybody has to make a choice and decision. And so they're asking for the passports, and she said, I'm sorry. And I was at walk-in and I didn't have my passport. And I didn't have a passport. I don't have a passport. I didn't have any proof of anything to show her. And then she said, "Oh, I can't let you in here. Like, you can come in and order, but you're going to have to sit outside." And she said, it's she said, "I feel really bad for doing this." And she kept apologizing. And she said, "It's like we're treating you like second, like right now, like a second class citizen." I said, we are, and we're dehumanizing humans. And so, but I said, but I understand where you're coming from. So I'm not yelling at you. I'm respecting you. I'm respecting that you've had to make your choices and your decisions, and I honor you as another human, that we are all in the same, we're all living in the same story that we didn't create. We didn't create the virus. We didn't create what the government is doing. We didn't create any of this. And so we're all angry. That anger that we project out on each other and out on the everyday person is really, truly not being of service. It's not doing nothing, only causing more chaos on earth. And it's more of that hell on, the hell that we create by not creating the heaven to be there for each other. To know that we're all, we all have to do the best thing that we can in these hard times. And knowing what's right and what's not right is you have to go to you, and you'll never be at peace when you're trying to create that peace, is learning the power of listening to what feels right. So, as I said to the lady, I just said, I'm sitting out here, and but I'm also honoring you, and I feel for you. I have compassion for you. I'm a business owner, so I know what it's like to be in business. I know what it's like to have a good 80% of my business now cut. I know what it's like to have your business affected. I know how it's affecting us all. I know the emotional, the psyche, all of that it's doing to each and every person. And and the deeper, heavier questions are not being asked in the right place. We're being just told that we should just be quiet about, like, we shouldn't question things. And the biggest thing that I did in writing More Than Existing was I learned to question myself on my own half-assed truths and what was true and what I believed to be true for years, and then things that I've changed because I was done just existing. And so I guess this book came out during COVID. It couldn't have come out at a better time, when it's about the power of learning, the power of the right kind of questions, and where we lay the questions. And so who's accountable, who's responsible, and and it goes all the way back to, where did this come from? Where did it leak from? And why was nobody held accountable? Why was nobody held responsible? But why are we all responsible for everything that's going wrong in the world? And why are we attacking each other and like eating each other alive emotionally, physically, over what's going down? And so there's some strong areas within our lives right now that are unfolding, but everybody is existing in their story, and everybody is trying their best. Everybody's doing what they can. And to find that place of that middle road, to live from that place is, it's not always easy, but to create your peace is, you have to really truly come home to you, to look deep into you, and to recognize within you, where can I bring more peace into my life, so that I can think clearly, so I'm not responding, reacting out of fear, so I'm not letting old my angers or myself be triggered by the world or by what's happening around me. And I can sit at this place and think for myself, decide for myself, do what I need to do, and also to honor and show dignity for each other. And I will say this time and time again, this is about the everyday person. And the new moon is about this right now. It's about the intention that we set for ourselves to, excuse me, to be our beautiful selves, to be true to ourselves, to be aware of ourselves, to be very consciously aware of our thoughts, of our words, of our actions. And everybody is struggling. And there's, no matter where or what, we're not the cause of the means, we're not the problem, but we're treating each other like we are the problem, like we created the problem, and we're not the problem. And and so just knowing who and what you are as a person, coming back home to that, finding that right now. And this is one of the things that I do, and I'm going to suggest this for you for the new moon energy, is I, instead of looking at all the negative or all the, it's like everyone's got this, oh, that's conspiracy, or that's all this side, or that's all that side. No, it's just the sides we don't want to have to look. We don't, we got our story, and we want to stick to that story, and we want to stick to that truth. And all of it is somewhat truth. There's somewhat truth kind of in everything. But this is what I do. I look to the highest good. I look to what inspires me. So look to inspiration. So I spent a lot of time, I write out someone who inspires me, and I look at how they led their lives, how they lead their lives, or how they lived their lives through adversity, how they transformed themselves, or how they got through adversity. And so for me, one of my biggest ones that I've spent a lot of time with so far, because she keeps popping up in my life and she's long past, is Corey Ten Boom. And she was a survivor and a thriver and a spiritual leader, and a woman who was a woman of empowerment. And if you don't know of her, I suggest go find her and find people of the past or of now that have been inspiration during adversity. And when you look at people who has been inspiration through adversity, and you look at their story and where they've been, you could never possibly have walked in their shoes. You're not walking in their shoes. And we can't compare ourselves to their experience, because we're not in their experience. We're in this experience right here, right now. And it's a lot of things that are not the same. And, in her experience, fleas and cockroaches climbing over you when you're a young woman in prison just because of who you were is a whole different story of being me waiting for a COVID test, being locked in my house. But there's essence that is real. So Corey Ten Boom is, and if you don't know of her, I suggest you go find her. She's a powerful, powerful powerhouse of a woman, or find people that are in your life that have come through adversity and looking through that strength and how we get through that strength. And that's how we become a leader. A leader, knowing that a leader is always a follower, but what are you following? Who are you following? What is that, what is it that's really defining that? And and how do they react and respond when they are challenged and when they are faced in that moment of being questioned, and how they hold themselves in those experiences speaks volumes. And to know that, that speaks volumes about who we are to our core. And being strong in that presence and being having that faith in us is so important. Uh, oh, that's okay, Destiny. I have not been in a whole lot live, and I'm actually sick myself right now. So, no, I'm just going to talk about the new moon. Lynette, I am going to pull some cards for the new moon. So you never know what message is coming in for you. So I would say stay. I'm COVID exhausted and taking tomorrow for me. Yes, exactly, Michelle. It's so important, right? You feel like you're talking to you? Yes, Marsha, I'm talking to everybody, right? It's like it feels so real. And it's like, and so that's how, for me, I don't know what's for everyone else, but that's how I is set my intention through this new moon is I am going to hold true to my beauty, my beautiful integrity that I have worked hard to polish, to refurbish, to bring back into alignment into me by showing myself dignity, by showing dignity to others, and to look at my world and my life in the way of, and it really come for me with the fact that I'm a writer. I'm much more than, people often say, well, you're a psychic medium, but I'm much more than a psychic medium. I use my gifts to empower, to be a spiritual leader, to be a writer, to be the author, to be a creator, to teach. And I'm a life coach. And so I work in trauma, transformation, empowerment, self-actualization, self-realization. I help people be able to shift energy from one life to a next life, to move beyond the adversity into thriving and not just survivor mode, not just victim mode, to be able to grow beyond that. And so, when I wrote this meant that I also had to start really truly researching other authors and writers. And in having to read other people's work, you really start to find out a whole lot more about yourself. And so today I pulled out the fairy forest cards. So for the new moon energy, I don't know if people really think about this. So when we look at spirituality and we look at being spiritual, we often think of, this world out here. And we're all trying to rise up to be this big spiritual being, to be this spirit in the sky energy, to be out here, to be trying to reach and talk to, the beyond. And the veil is thinning right now. The veil isn't as thin. We're in October. This is when the veil thins. This is when we are so much more connected to that spirit world, but we forget we're spirit. You're the ghost walking around earth, right? So your spirit. So spirit out there and spirit here is the same but different, because the only difference is you have a human body, they don't. That's the difference. But that spirit, and so in order to be able to communicate and connect, is to rise our spirit, is to rise the essence of our love and light and our vibrational energy, because it's emotional selves sink to the bottom and we don't connect the same. And then we get ego in the way. But there's that whole world out here, and then there's earth, and then there's an inner world. And there's a whole third world. There's a whole inner world, magical world that exists within our world. So it's the world within the world. Well, within us, we have the same thing. Inside of you, there's a whole magical world that exists, and it's called the soul self. It is called that inner deep knowing. Your soul has been on many journeys. You only got one lifetime as this one human. So when people say to me, like, well, so and so don't believe in another life, like when they leave, they just think they're dead. And I said, well, they're not wrong. That's where half assed truth comes in. They're not really wrong. They are right. They're half right. And what makes them half right is that they're looking at this human is all there is, and they're not connecting to the essence, that soul self, that spiritual self, that spirit of us that exists within us, that breath that we have is connected to something more. And when the human dies, when the human body leaves, the human does go. You only have one lifetime as this human that you are today. So why do we squander it? Why do we waste it? Why do we talk about deaf ears? Why do we get involved and invested into things of where we can't make a change and be a difference? Why do we believe that we cannot make change by being at peace or being the peacekeeper and being that peaceful perspective? Why do we believe that we have to become angry and go to war and go to fight and that type of thing? And that is old energy, old stories. And our soul self that is so deep in that inner world that has the magic key code language that really speaks to us knows truth because it has existed in thousands or billions, millions of lives. And so it has all of this wisdom. But we're so directed and guided, and we're in such a seek and desire to be greater than, more than the God consciousness. And that's when we're trying to be in control, when we're letting ego in the way. We set intentions to be right, to be righteous, to be, to do all of those things. It's like, I'm going to teach them, I'm going to show them, and I'm going to. So that ultimately becomes like that God complex is greater than God, greater than the God consciousness, greater than source. I know better than the universal energy. I can conquer the world and I'm going to show the world. And all of that takes you into that like ego sense. And there's a whole little world that says to us, have you ever tried being small? Have you ever tried being silent? Have you ever tried just going in? And not that, it's not that we have to lose our voice or lose the power of us, but you're not powered up. You're charged up on emotions and ego and fear and chaos and chaotic, which means you go in swinging and you swing at anything and everything. And so the exhaustion comes in. When we go small, which is where the Fey Forest is coming in for us today, when we get small is that inner world. So in the world within the world, if you look at all the small things that are here to inspire us, to encourage us, to remind us, to show us signs of spirit world, like all the spirit animals, like the little, like the mushrooms, like the trees, like, and there's spirit, there's energy, there's little life force energies that are alive and active within the world, which are smaller than us. And so when I start teaching the mystical realm, the mystical world, I used to always say, there's no way I would believe in that UFO. There's back in my day, in my early days, I don't believe in that. I don't want to touch that. I don't want to go there. But when you start to see the world bigger and you become smaller, which means you get out of your head, you get out of your head stories, you get out of all those big chaotic places, and you really simplify and connect deeper to the energy instead of having to create more and more of who and what we think we are, is that you can see the little details. And there's all of these little details that are at work in the inner world that are here helping us to be of service for us, that are here to help the bigger cause. But until we let ourselves become kind of that small energy, and that means this is why the retrograde and this new moon set an intention to sit with you, to be stiller, to be quiet, to heal from exhaustion, to heal from being wore out, to let your voice heal, to let your eyes heal, to let your ears heal. Just look when Facebook went down. Oh my God, how many times when Facebook did go down, how many times were you running to your phone, checking to see when Facebook was back up? How many times? Instead of turning the phone off for the day or that part and say, this is a great opportunity. Look at how many hours I spend just scrolling through, taking myself farther away from anything I am, or anything I want to feel, or anything I want to be, and seeking and searching more of what I don't want. Because the more you're in there seeking and searching, the more you're in there reading, the more that you're seeking and searching everything you don't want. So, like I said, I've turned off all notifications, I've turned off all things to anything that I have no desire to hear. And it doesn't matter which side it's on. I don't want to hear either side, because both sides are acting like immature, spiritually immature, and emotionally immature in behavior and action. And when everybody is talking at one time, nobody's listening. And so there was just that whole energy. That was an opportunity. That wasn't a problem of the day. That wasn't, it's like we go to, oh, it's a conspiracy, or there's something going on, there's something going down. It was an opportunity. You had an opportunity to step out and away from the bullshit and to step into you. And that's the intention of what we're setting. So the Fey force and the fairy energy is that there's these little beams of light, there's this little beams of energy. And if you're out gardening, you're out in your yard, and all of a sudden you just feel yourself like humming, you feel yourself smiling. Well, that's the energy of what we call like the Fey energy. It's working for you, it's helping you. And there's so much more to it. I'm not going to go into it. If you want to know more about the Fey energy, you can do my mystical realm courses that are pre-recorded, that were taught live, but now you can do the recordings in the school. And they're there's just so many things that are life-changing when you start to open up your mind to what you didn't think could be possible. But the new moon is drawing my attention and drawing the awareness to the inner world. So the inner world of Earth, the core of Earth, and also to the inner world of us. There's volcanoes erupting, there's earthquake kind of energy eruption, there is big forest fires, and so the inner world is heating up. I feel that, see it, and it's not climate change. I hate to have to tell you. It is the energy, and I'm not saying climate change is real or not real. I'm not even getting into that debate. What I'm saying is that the energy of what we give off on Earth. So when I hear people say, "Oh, well, the cows exert like this this gas into the air," well, what the fuck do you think us humans do? And there's way more of us than cows. And what do you think we're releasing into the world? We are energy. The world is full of energy, and we're exuding out this energy like toxic gas energy. So we have that lower, darker, that heavier, denser energy that's kind of filling the earth, and we have mother and we have and here we have poor old Mother Earth trying to grow all of her good stuff, trying to nurture us, trying to love us. And now she's stepping into like grandmother energy, and she's saying, I've had enough of your bullshit. If you guys can't get along, you can't play well, Father in the sky energy and Mother on the earth energy is coming together. And it's just like this eruption of energy that's just saying, we're going to shake things up. And that's happening within us. There's something trying to shake us up, trying to awaken us. And the eruption is not anger, it's an overflow of like a flood of tears and softness and gentleness and love that is just saying, what are we all freaking doing? What are we all doing? Why have we allowed our lives to be this? And why are we allowing this? And we're here to, and they were here before us. Exactly, Karen. And I always say that. I'm like, everybody fights over land. It was never any of ours. We weren't the first, right? And it's like the dinosaurs are not coming back fighting with us. It's the land didn't we take ownership and claim of everything, including emotions, including what's going wrong, including other people's behaviors, other people's actions. We take ownership that it's our responsibility to fix everything, to change everything, and especially when we didn't cause it. There's a whole system out there, government, social media. There's a whole world out there that has been creating the biggest problems, but they're pointing the finger like big ass bullies and saying, oh, it's you little tiny people. And we're doing it to ourselves. And so if you bring it home to us, we do it to ourselves. We bully ourselves, we hold ourselves responsible, accountable. So for this new moon energy, my suggestion is to look to somebody who can inspire you through their adversity and not to compare. There's no comparison. It's not to discount where you are and what you're going through, but to look at what it took and where their faith come from, where their faith came from, what they had to do, what they've had to accomplish, what they had to really put their faith into, and look at things differently. Because once you get into the deep darks of the forest, once you go into the darkness, sometimes there's no getting out. And when they talk about, the 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 kind of the mystical realm, they say, you can get lost in the woods and never get out. Well, that's us. We can get lost in our stories. We can get lost in our sadness. We can get lost in our suffering and our depression and never get out, because we believe the doors close. We believe there's that we're in that doom and gloom. But as long as you have a breath, as long as you have a heartbeat, as long as your eyes open, you have an opportunity. There is still light. There is still love. That never got dimmer. That never went down. It's our faith, our belief, our conditioning, our programming that tells us that, and we believe the half-assed truth and lies. So you may be lost. You may be stuck in a dark place. You may be behind closed doors. You may feel like you're trapped in something, but you're not. All you got to do is shift and move and keep moving towards a little speck of light. Keep breathing through and keep rising, and find that deep desire why right inside of here, and just ask to be guided out. Ask for that voice. And so our two cards that are coming out from here is I love this one. And this is the Mabon. This is the Mabon, and look at her eyes. So you can always tell when people are lying by their eyes. You can always tell when they're trying to think of an answer. You can always tell when I'm channeling, talking to up here. And so it's like she's looking over here and she's just looking at the other world, and she's just like, yeah, right. You're not taking me from my hope, from my faith. It's like holding on to that hope. She knows because she's seen. When you can see beauty in everything, when you can see beauty around you, when you can hold that, you know that it still exists in a future and that it's still there, because it doesn't go away. Love, light, hope, faith, all of the virtuous self never really ever don't exist, like the soul that exists within us. It's eternal. So there's some things that are infinite supply. And what's in infinite supply cannot be taken away. And so setting our intention to live more in the infinite supply of love and light, to become that inspiration within ourselves, to become the healer within, is the big part of this new moon energy. And really truly pay attention to that. And so the card talks about shining, hope, and future. And trust me, I kind of felt myself getting a little bit perturbed about something yesterday when I was reading someone say something about psychic mediums and fortune tellers, and they're telling you a fortune, or reading through that energy. Well, anyone who works in the light of love and light and healing and of the highest good will often know and want to really help people understand that the future, that your free will overrides everything, and that the fate is not determined so much by what but what you want. It's more based on the fact of, all right, if you do this, this can happen. If you make a choice to do this, you're going to have to take the long way around. You're going to have to do things. It doesn't mean there's not an opportunity, and it doesn't mean that the future can't change. So when people say to me, oh, tell me what my future husband will look like, I don't fucking know what he's going to look like. What I can tell you is what he may have previously looked like, or what they look like now. And he's a possibility for your future, but it doesn't mean he's going to look like that, because it might be 20 years later before you find him. And he might look nothing like he looks right now. So time, things change. And, time is always collapsing in on itself. It's just when we come into alignment. When we come into alignment with our life and with who and what we are. And so having faith and hope is so important. And hope means that you got to have something that you keep working towards, that keeps growing and evolving into that future. You send the feeling of what you want your future to feel like. And that shining is there is, so when I say talk about the spark and that little light in the inner world, is that in the inner world of the Fey realm, of the mystical, through the whale energy, through all that I communicate to, is that I'm fed wisdom, not human knowledge, wisdom. So it has no motive to change anything. It has no objective. It's the world will do what it does, and not to try to get the world to change or try to make people change or to make people do things to make me more comfortable. It's truly, it is just that sense of, you know what? They might have to go through all of this, and all this might have to happen, but over here, follow this little tiny speck of light. So the smaller you get, the smaller you let your world become in so many ways, and you get out of that head story, is that you'll always see that speck of light. You'll always see that. And that's where hope is. As long as there is still a breath, there's hope. As long as there's still a speck of light, and as long as we remember the fact that spirit is in us, the spirit out there is the same spirit that is with us, we'll always have hope and faith, and we'll always know that the spirits who have braced, who have honored us with their presence in a human form are still very actively alive within our world and within our lives. Lots of static, you got lots of energy, right? Because everything is energy. Everything is energy. Right. Yeah. And it's just knowing that, just like I told you that, did I, Beth? I don't fucking know what he looks like. I can tell you what their energy feels like. I can tell you those things. And I don't have any ego desire to create that for people. And so, yeah, I love it. And so then we have uh, Astrid, Astrid, and she's the beautiful fall colors. And with fall, of course, comes in like the harvest. We harvest and reap everything we grew over summer. But then there's two stages that come into fall. There's harvesting and reaping reaping the rewards and the gains. And then we also have the death, and we have the endings and the fall away. And those, every single death also is a seed planted, and every seed that's planted back in the spirit world or back out there is also then a future hope. It helps the highest good in the future that comes in. So it's a beginning of something of fertility and something of new beginnings. And so this card represents love fire, and love and the fire and the passionate that really comes up is that when Mother Earth starts her fires naturally, it's never an intention to burn down things that are in our way. But when we build homes in forest, or we build homes near, if something is running its course, it's running right through us, right through. And it doesn't mean we have less compassion or anything for that, but some things are out of our control and we can't stop or change it. And from it comes new growth and new beginnings and new trees and new life grows in the forest, and a new life grows through us. And so this love fire, and what they're telling us is that we look at the big things when we lose, but there's little things that we also gain in all of those times, and that new life. And you know when we look at the people that come together, when we look at how in that slow time, so Mercury retrograde is like that winter season when you just gotta, we do less, we're not as active, and then we come back into spring. So what we're being told with this is a good time of really truly, when we see that fire, feel that fire burning inside of us, is to not to feed and fuel it anger emotions or past experiences, is to allow that passionate desire to ignite and light up the nuggets within us, the gifts within us, the essence of who we are to the core of humanity. and how we can grow and how we can evolve and how we can shift and change. And if we keep fighting for the way things were, there's never no going back, no matter how much you want them, right? There's that who am I, who can I be on the other side? So that who sense of how can I start creating me into who I want to be on the other side of all of this? And what is that mystical, magical, spark that's inside of me that I have been suppressing, that I've been hiding, that I've been not letting out, and letting that shine right now and letting that come forward for you. And that's kind of where my energy, that I'm the wisdom I'm gaining, is coming from. And as I'm like inside and not so much outside, is that I really recognize, that I spent a lot of time with that inner world. I spent a lot of time there. And my whole first book is me walking through those cedar trees, and cedar trees is family and life and rebirth and new beginnings. And um, and that mystical magical world was in creation to help me create something I didn't know I was, right? And I would never had thought, if someone had to say to me, you'll write 6 books, I would have said, you're effing nuts. I'm was I an A student in school? No. But could I write a book report? Damn right I could. My best course was literature. And then everything else, like math, I just barely got by. But when you let yourself kind of shrink and fall into you, and you start to discover more, and you set that intention to say, I'm done. I'm done with the bullshit. I'm done being far away from me. I'm done, living in everyone else's stories and getting caught up, even if it's the people that live in your own house. I'm going to emotionally and spiritually mature beyond that. And I'm going to find that sense, that spark of joy, hope, happiness. You never know what's to come. And that was that where the mystical realm took me. And these books are channeled. Um, you can read them. The other ones hopefully will come out. I know we're in second editing on my second book right now, which is Beyond the Reflection, and the Oracle cards. And so I would never thought, if someone had said I would have been a writer. So when we limit ourselves to who we think we are or who we think we want to be, we actually hold ourselves back. So this is a good opportunity to say, fuck it. Sorry for swearing, but I'm just going to say it. Fuck it. I'm going to throw caution to the wind. And I don't know who I'm going to be when I grow up, but all I know is I'm ready now to grow up. I'm ready now not to be tied to the past. I'm ready to not be out, swinging around words and energy that it really don't make sense. I'm done competing. I'm done trying to be somebody. I'm done trying to be anything. And I'm going to grow up. I'm going to grow into me. I'm going to sprout new limbs. I'm going to grow new leaves. I'm going to extend myself out into the energy, but I'm also going to come into me, and I'm going to let my little light shine, and I'm going to let it shine into me, just like Jonah and the whale, right? You're going to let it shine up and into you. Stop going to be a glutton to punishment. Stop going to be mean to yourself. Stop going to be self-punishing, self-loathing. Stop getting caught up in the outside freaking world. And you make a choice, because you never know what you're here to be. You're never here, if you limit yourself to the possibility of what you think someone or something should look like or be like in your life, you may be underestimating what's in the plan for you. You may be underestimating the life that is designed for you. Stop underestimating. Stop trying to be the god of it all. Stop trying to control it. Stop limiting yourself and saying that's not true, that's not possible, there's no effing way fairies exist, there's no way Corey talks to whales. There's no way that that spirit world works like that. There's no way, that's not possible, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. How about you just say, maybe that's possible? I don't know. And I spent a lifetime. I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is what I got. And this is what I give. This is what I speak. This is what I do. And I just show up. And you just show up into the world. And what if just you being you is the gift? And that's enough. And you've been punishing the gift for all this time. So setting some really clear intentions this time during this new moon to uh, just keep chasing the spark of love and light. and let everything else go. And if you're in the dark, if you're in your struggles, if you're in any of those places, there's always a spark of light and hope. You're not trapped. You're not in you're not trapped in anything. We're still here. And because we're still here, we still have an opportunity. And more than existing means it's wide open to all. Much, much love. Sorry for my rasp voice and for not being able to pull some cards for you guys. Like I said, I am under the weather. I'm not even saying I'm sick. I've even changed that language. I am under the weather, and I'm rising up in my wellness. You are so welcome, Shiva. And yes, amen. Right, it's that I'm just rising. Beth, I kept I kept asking you a bunch of questions and you kept saying, I don't know, and I can't say that right now. But I kept thinking, she knows, but she understands. She understands why she can't say, yes, Beth, exactly. It's not that I don't know, is I have a deeper understanding. I listen to them and not, I listen to this world and I don't listen to the desperation or the hurt or the anything that we have in the experience. I'm guided by that and I'm guided by love and light. So it's what's of service to help us find the love and light, to live in the love and light, and to live a healed, healthy life in whatever we have to do to live that. So thank you for honoring that, Beth, and thank you for trusting me to do this with you. And if those who don't know, Beth has been following me for a long time, and Beth is someone who can definitely speak real truth to going through her darkest of times. When one of her twins passed, and to just know, you know, just trust that as much as I would love to fall into that emotion with her, I had to stay in this energy and we worked through her being where she is right now and living her beautiful life and knowing there's still that spark of hope and that beautiful spirit lives with us and through us and always there for us. And yes, some of those little darlings spend a lot of time with me always. I keep my house open to the baby spirits, to the little ones. And yeah, and you're so welcome, Shiva. And thank you, everyone. And just know that you are greater than your struggles. And in our struggles, there's always that light, the hope. Where are we looking? Look to the light, look to the love, and just come into you right here, right now. It's what matters the most. I love you all, and I will see you in hopefully a few days. Going to try to rest up here, and I'll let you know how my COVID test comes back. Thank you all. Bye bye.